Next up is the story of an immigrant. You may know his work, you may know who I'm talking about. He went from job to job trying to find his way, wound up in the newspaper business for a short time, learned photography, and used his skill to shed light on the downtrodden, the homeless, and living conditions, aided by new technology that enabled him to share these stories with the world. And when he had trouble getting his work published, he took it directly to the public. An activist with a camera. Think you know him? His name was Jacob Riis, and he passed away 100 years ago. Now, Riis captured the attention of a nation, including the president, with his book, How the Other Half Lives. Ruddy Roye believes, as Riis did, that everyone deserves a voice, that every person's experience has value in the community. And so, like Riis, Ruddy walks the walk, giving voice to the voiceless, a face to the unseen. Empowered by more than 250,000 followers on Instagram, the street is his studio, unplugged, where his experience, his voice, and his community come together. Please welcome Ruddy Roye.
And so I start with my brother here. If you notice, he's that person in the middle. And I've always felt like that. I walk around Brooklyn with that same feeling. I look and I see people, a species, a race of folks that have been rendered invisible. Garnet.
Troublemaker.
You see it.
Living. The action that every being does day by day, moment by moment, is what we do. We live. What could Ruddy Roye possibly mean then by when living is a protest? Well, here's a clue. This series that you're about to sit in this afternoon takes seriously the claim that sometimes the very basic freedoms of our existence have to be fought for when we are black. What does it mean to live with dignity? What does it mean to represent people with dignity, whatever their condition or position in life? Ruddy's work is about that question.
I find my images at the bottom of the river where it is murky, where the muddy banks stirs up its copper-colored riverbed, like it is practicing voodoo or alchemy. I show up, wedged between two rocks, sitting on a sidewalk straddling the path between suicide and a rum bar. I lay idle, like a discolored penny. It is worthless. No, you are worthless, she tells me. But her voice is no different from my legacy. Whether it was a middle passage, cotton field, or growing up with a drunken daddy, my soul is filled with the vestiges of my own slavery. So I can't pass. I see him because I see me. With a flick of the wrist, when turning out a pocket or opening your wallet, we can all create that penny. I photograph these images because I cannot pass them. I have tried. I've walked on the other side. I cannot pass somebody who looks at me and challenges me to do something for him. And this is what these images are about. These images are about a face on the side of a street, on a corner, saying to me, I'm invisible.
Rud is constantly asking what it means to belong. And he recognizes that people answer that in subtle yet powerful ways. He's especially interested in the question, what does it mean to be an American? The next 10 photographs you'll see here show how blacks in America insist that they are no less American because of their skin color. And in the last photo in the series shows how they're usually kept out with the same symbol they use to affirm they belong, the American flag. All of us own the flag. What I mean is, it belongs to all of us. These people wearing the flag are protesting by being seen as one of us that you can't use a national symbol to exclude.
One of the things I saw when I first came here, I was always troubled by how can a black person wear that flag with all history behind it. And so I spent days interviewing men, women, why you wear that flag? And I can tell that 90% of the answers have always been, I am an American. And it has always bothered me. I'm like, I don't feel like African Americans are treated like an American. I've always felt like they were second-class citizens. And so, pride, it encircles us like a harness pad, complete with bit, girth, crupper, and breech. For hundreds of years, we have followed its reign, bridled by the same laws that brand us with its stains. We were dragged here to plow their field like animals, stripped of colors and painted with stereotypes and symbols, strapped to reins that have blinded us with no plan, broken families, no income. With this life, we've got a one-way trip to the welfare line or prison, but yet we wear it, the pride of the land, in which we are homegrown, wearing its colors around our necks like our harness, our clothing, our skin, our millstone. I want you to look at the faces of these people who I've interviewed, who wear the flag powerfully. I want you to also listen to their voices as they say they're also Americans. I remember this guy's over 70, and he was still working because he had no social security. And I remember calling, his name is Bob, I remember calling out to him because I know him from the neighborhood. And as I was driving, this is actually shot from my car window. And I said, Bob, and he gave me the power sign. But before he dropped the bag of stones that that he had put in a bag because he was doing construction at 70. An image I shot in South Carolina during the whole protest about the flag coming down. Everywhere, I shot this in Mississippi. Everywhere I go, I question Americans, black Americans, why you wear this flag? This guy did a couple of years in prison, came out, and he was proud enough to say that being a part of a program that allowed him to get back in society was the reason why he was proud of this flag, because he knew that he would never be able to get this anywhere else in the world. He really wanted to hit him. Actually, he came over to me and he asked, why are you taking his picture? And I thought he was going to hit me. Rasta youth.
The following photographs of the homeless are about the human capacity for holding on to the beautiful when ugliness threatens.
I got it. Who sings the ballad for the common man, the destitute, the sick, hungry, and mentally ill man? Yes, the forgotten one. Or better yet, who is willing to reach deep down in their pockets where they are busy constructing Americana to overstand the curl of his frown or the reason he doesn't have his own? What makes his clothes so dirty? Why does his belly make that sound? Why does his stink seem to reach out, choke my nostril, and reprimand my soul? Who is willing to follow him down his long, winded story and pull him from his hole? In it, he sits in purgatory, ruminating on his tale. He stirs his pot of imperfections or alchemy slowly towards eternity, for he's the snake. Every week I cut up rope into $1 favors, and when each silent face reach out to me from a street corner, I offer up the equivalent of a bagel or a Java. It's not much, but it's an offer. Because I see 13 minutes here, I'm going to fast forward into that little saying, fast forward into the you know when it's a rerun, they usually push. Because I do not want somebody to come out here and like, you know, Apollo, pull me off. A lot of people have asked me, why am I comfortable photographing the homeless? Why am I comfortable photographing? It could easily be called poverty porn. Again, I cannot pass it. It's impossible. It's not like I prefer to shoot this over nudes. This makes me sleep at night. This allows me to teach my son that there's no difference between a man who's on the street and somebody who lives in the White House. I walk around and I look in their faces and I talk. I like to use signage to express what I want to say. But my images are really to question the people in this audience. I'm going to quote Jeremiah Wright. And I don't know if you guys know who Jeremiah Wright is. But he was a pastor that they linked with Obama, that Obama stayed away from. But Jeremiah Wright said, the passage after the crucifixion is one of the most important part of the crucifixion. It talked about, right after the crucifixion, the people watched in silence. A lot of pastors really leave that out of their sermon. But he also went on to say that Martin Luther King was never troubled by the dogs. He said, I could handle the dogs, I could handle prison, I could handle the spit, but I could never deal with the people who stayed silent. He also quoted another guy from I want to say Germany, but his name was also Martin. When he said, when the socialists came, I was not a socialist, so I stayed quiet. When they came for the Catholic, I was not a Catholic, so I stayed quiet. When they came for the communists, I was not a communist, so I stayed quiet. When they came for me, there was nobody else to talk up for me. And so my images are hoping to shake you up. I'm at the bridge, so it was so appropriate that my images are at the bridge on display. Because my whole life, I've been trying to create bridges, a link between me and the other, with the hope that when you look at these images, you see your uncle, your brother, your sister, your nephew, your cousins, your nieces, that the only difference between the both of us is the color of their skin.